So we're joined by Ellie. Ellie is currently a student in Iowa, but she has some very personal experience with this topic. She's a newlywed. We're also joined by Albert Sia. He's my colleague in the visa office, and he's an expert in K visas, which are visas for people that are not yet married but plan to marry once they get into the United States. And finally, we're joined by Amanda Shipley. She is a London-based attorney who's licensed to practice in New York City. She's an immigration attorney who's helped a lot of couples navigate this process.
Steve was granted his visa in December of 2013. He decided to stay for Christmas with his family and came over directly after that. Then we got married on January 4th, so he was here for about 1 week before we got married, and I had planned our wedding in about 2 weeks, so it was all pretty hectic. But it ended up working out. Immediately after we got married, we filed for our adjustment of status. And while you do have 90 days to get married and apply for the adjustment of status, it was beneficial for us to do so right away so that he would get his work card sooner. So he's adjusted really well, but I would caution to anybody considering going through this process, you have to be very patient. It takes a lot of willpower on both ends.
We hear a lot from our fans on Facebook and our followers on Twitter that this process takes a really long time.
We understand that it's frustrating to be separated from your spouse, your fiancé, for any amount of time, be it a week or 10 months, as was the case for Ellie. The process begins with you filing a petition with USCIS. You would file either the Form I-130 for the spouse, or you can file the Form I-129F for the fiancé. USCIS will process it, and it takes several months, probably 5 to 6 months. I would refer you to their webpage for their current wait times and their target times. And then it is sent to the National Visa Center for our initial intake and processing. The department's goal is to process these visas within 30 days of arrival from USCIS, and we strive really hard to meet that goal. Currently, the National Visa Center is averaging around 20 days for fiancé visas, and then it's sent to the post, the U.S. Embassy or consulate, where the visa application will be processed. We recommend that you go to travel.state.gov and look at their wonderful interactive webpage that walks through, leads the applicant through the entire visa process.
What we say to people is, if they have a job offer in the U.S. and they're, that's the purpose of their visit, then by all means they're allowed to go and work in the U.S. and get to know that person better. They're also allowed to go travel to the U.S. and get to know that person better. The one thing that is absolutely prohibited is misrepresenting the purpose of their visit.
For Amanda, we just got a question from the Google Plus page from Tom. He says, I'm a U.S. citizen living outside the United States, married to a non-U.S. citizen. Can we apply to come to the United States as a same-sex couple?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Once DOMA was overturned, the Department of State has been at the forefront of making same-sex marriage a reality for these couples. And, in fact, in the U.S. Embassy in London, they had a reception to celebrate it, and we've seen great recognition of this across the world from the Department of State. And in fact, I know that some posts where couples are in countries where same-sex marriage is either illegal or is, puts the person at risk of being the victim of a crime or something like that, they're working towards providing safe havens for these people to apply for their green card or for their immigrant visas there.